Hi, I'm Matt, and on today's Matt's World DIY, I'm making super delicious banana walnut bread. It comes together so quickly and easily and is super delicious. So let's get to it. So step number one in getting our banana walnut bread ready is set your oven to 350 degrees. I've got my oven preheating right now. Next is to get your pan prepared. I've taken just the regular loaf pan and I'm going to spray some vegetable spray in it, just a little bit to hold my parchment paper down. And I've cut my parchment paper into a rectangle shape and I'm going to place it in the pan and just fold the sides down, and the vegetable spray is going to help hold the paper down. Now, whenever this is finished and it's ready to come out, all I'll have to do is pull these two ends up and I have some convenient handles to lift my bread out of the pan. Next, I want to prepare my nuts. I'm going to take a cup of walnuts and I'm going to chop them up, not too fine, not too coarse. I'm just going to chop them up so that they are a good size, an appropriate size in your mouth. I've made just regular banana bread before, and while it's good and the flavor is fine, it's just not that interesting. And so whenever you add nuts to it, that added texture really helps bring the banana bread to life. So now it's banana walnut bread. So that's about a rough chop on that. And this will be ready to go into my mixture whenever I have the mixture pulled together. Now I want to measure out some butter and melt that in the microwave. So this will go into the mixture as well. It's going to be 1/3 of a cup of butter. That's almost a full stick. It's not quite. So I'm going to cut that about right here. I'm just cutting it on the paper. This will go back in the fridge. I will cube up a little bit, and that will help the melting process, help ease it into melting. When you melt your butter in the microwave, it may have a tendency to explode, and then you have a lot of cleaning up to do in your microwave. So if you have it in your bowl, I would recommend cover it up, microwave it at about 10-second, 15-second bursts, monitor it so that you don't end up having a huge mess to clean up. All right, so my butter looks perfect. There's a little bit that's not melted quite, but that's going to be fine. There's some things I need to do in the meantime, and the residual heat will help melt that. Next thing we want to do is get our bananas prepared. And remember, everything that we're using at room temperature. If you bake a bake with ingredients that are still cold, the product is not going to bake evenly from center to the edge. So if you have everything at room temperature to start with, then you're going to get a nice even bake and you won't have inconsistencies like a overdone edge and then an underdone center to a cake or muffins or whatever it is that you're making. I find this recipe works well with about 3 medium-sized bananas. 2 of them are especially dark. The reason why they're dark is because I had them in the refrigerator, and you know, whenever you put a banana in the refrigerator, it tends to blacken. So I had taken them out and now they're at room temperature. So they're good to go and they're not like super cold. But these bananas have ripened so much that there is so much sugar in it, they're especially sweet. I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm considering how much sugar I'm going to add to this recipe. Because, you know, you could make a super sweet banana bread, or you can make one that's less sweet. I prefer, of course, I'm kind of like the Goldilocks thing where it's got to be just right. So it's not too sweet, not too not sweet. So finding that happy medium place is kind of my thing. So I have my bananas in a bowl. I'm going to get a fork and just mash these up. With my bowl on the scale, I'm going to measure out 200 grams of all-purpose flour. Now, if you are not using a measuring, you're not baking by weight, 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. You don't necessarily have to sift your ingredients, but because I am like I am, I sift out everything. I just don't want to have any surprises. I'm also going to add 3/4 of a cup or 150 grams of sugar. If you want a less sweet bread, you could go to a half a cup of sugar if you wanted to do so. I probably should have done so, but oh well. I did what I did, so now live with it. Now look at these rocks. You see? Of course, you're going to have those rocks when you're working with sugar, of course. Okay, and that's good. Good. I'm going to toss these in the sink. So I forgot, I still have baking soda and salt to put in. So I want to put in a pinch of salt and a teaspoon of baking powder. Not baking powder, baking soda. A teaspoon of baking soda. There we go. And a pinch of salt. I'm going to do, this is a coarse salt. It's like, I don't know, 1/8 of a teaspoon, if that. But the salt helps bring out the flavors in your food. Okay, I'm going to sift this because I didn't do it with the flour, but there it is. It's good. Now that I have all of my dry ingredients sifted together, I'm going to take and make sure all of these ingredients are combined nice and well, because I want consistency of my ingredients in my flour before I end up pouring that into my wet ingredients. So I'm going to have that here. Now I'm going to bring back my bananas because we're going to get started with some wet ingredients. So I have my bananas. I'm going to add my 1/3 of a cup of sugar. This is not sugar. It is melted butter. I said it with such conviction. It's like, this is sugar. No, it's not. So 1/3 of a cup of melted butter. I'm also going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm also going to put my egg in. Now that I have all my wet ingredients in my bowl, I'm going to mix this up nice and well. And then when the egg is nice and broken down, I'll add the dry ingredients to it. And that's how simple this recipe comes together. Okay, so now I'm just going to dump in my flour mixture. Mix that in here, and I'm also going to put my nuts in and just combine all this together. Don't mix it too much, but it's really a simple recipe that it's almost a no-fail, almost no-fail. Now that all my ingredients are well combined, I'm going to get my baking pan, dump in my wet ingredients, dump in my batter. Just spread the batter out evenly on the top of your pan. I like to give it a little smash, just to get rid of any air pockets. Put this in the 350-degree oven for 50 minutes to an hour. And just make sure that if you insert a skewer, it comes out clean, and then you're good to go. Oh my goodness, this looks wonderful. It has pulled away from the sides a little bit, so that's one indicator that I know that this bread is ready. I'm also going to take, I know it's a little bit bigger than a skewer, but it's a chopstick, and I'm going to stick it in the center, come out, and it comes out clean. So it's ready, it's done. So what I'm going to do is let this cool completely. I'm going to run a knife just along the two side edges just so that it does not stick to the sides. And then we'll be able to pull it out, slice it up, and give it a try. Be right back. So my banana bread has been cooling a little bit, and what I want to do is just pull it out of the pan. Look how easy that was. So awesome. And now I want to also take it off of the paper so the air can get under it while it's sitting on the rack to cool. So I'm just going to roll it. So parchment paper is just such an awesome thing. I'm going to let this sit and cool a little bit longer on my cooling rack before I cut into it. It is time to cut into this delicious banana bread. I found that a bread knife or a serrated knife usually works best for cutting a bread so that you don't end up having a lot of crumbs. So I'm going to turn this just a little bit and do my little slice-a-rooney. This looks great. And let me tell you, the house smells, whenever you're baking baked goods, it just smells so good in the house. It's warm and inviting, and this looks wonderful. Check that out. Look at the nuts and the banana that you can see in there. It's just super wonderful. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe. It's super delicious, comes together super quickly, and it's the perfect thing to use those bananas that might be going bad on you. Also, try it with a cup of coffee in the morning. It makes the perfect way to start your day. Actually, it's perfect to eat at any time of day. So if you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe, and also check out some of my other recipes I have on my baking playlist. See you next time.